So, David, Stuart, nice to meet you. And we're going to be talking about your show, Good Breeding.
Yes.
Exciting, huh?
Yes, very exciting. It's my first show. Everybody should be very excited to see it.
Oh, wow. So you're kind of a virgin then on the stage.
In that respect, although I'm such a natural, I don't seem like a virgin. I just take to it so naturally.
Yeah, brilliant. Hey, I just wanted to read something from the blurb of the show. So it says it's an hour of stand up that is so sex and body positive it might end in an orgy. Now that should surely guarantee you a full house. Just that line.
You would think, but some people can be intimidated by an orgy, and I hope to dispel that.
Fair enough. So, do if I come along, will I need tissues or smelling salts? Is it, am I going to be shocked? I'm a gay man too. I didn't think anything shocked me, but.
I don't. I don't think so. I think that the spirit of it is breeding and sex and body positivity and all that, sex education as well. But I don't think it's necessarily shocking. I hope it's. I might think that. I hope that it's more clever than it is shocking. But maybe that's my arrogance talking.
So what can we expect to see? Is this partly about your life or your experiences or people you know and their experiences?
It is not really about my life at all. There's a few kind of little personal anecdotes kind of dusted throughout, I guess is the right way to say it. I would say it is observational to use kind of hacky comedy terms. It's an observational kind of set. Um, I guess you can expect. I like to think of it as like stupid philosophy, where it's kind of like we're talking about things that everybody understands. We're talking about, the fact that we're all born from, an act of conception, a sexual act, and maybe we haven't given that enough thought. I mean, the real question is why would we? But here I am doing it. So, you know, so yeah, I guess expect to think about things that you know about in ways that you maybe hoped you'd never have to.
Well, it's funny, Because societies still seem to have this real weirdness around sex that we know it all exists. Almost every one of us has it. And obviously, without it, the human race wouldn't be here. And yet, there's real prudishness often about it or awkwardness about it. And I don't know whether that's because of religion or what, but what's your feeling on that?
I think that I think it's all in. I think it's all in how people are educated about sex when they're younger, because I mean, and that comes from lots of different things, right? Lots of different factors. It can be religion, and it can be just general prudishness, really. But I think if you look at the way that people are spoken to about sex, the fact that sex education doesn't start, for example, they're like, you don't learn the words. I mean, I'm not talking about any of the social stuff around sex. You don't learn the words for the body parts until you're a teenager in most instances, if you do at all. And I think that lends to it. But then I also think the same can be said for a lot of other kinds of social education, right? Where you talk about drugs and you talk about alcohol awareness and all of these things, where there's a kind of mystery to it all. When you start to get older, you explore for yourself in maybe ways that aren't the healthiest. And I think that sex is in that zone also.
And what about your upbringing? Were your parents quite open about it? Were you taught about it yourself?
No, but I will say that my schooling, my primary school, and I only knew this looking back, started on sex education remarkably early. So I think when we were 11, they showed us the first videos, wheeled the TV out, and I mean, it wasn't pornographic or anything, but like I say sometimes that you don't learn the good stuff then, that's more university level sex education where it's all practical. but that early on, it was kind of, these are the differences between different people's parts, and this is what happens, and this is where babies come from, and this is what safe sex means, not how to have it, of course, because you're young, but this is what it means, and I think that that's healthy. Yeah. But no, my parents never kind of sat me down and gave me the talk early on, although I do remember an awkward exchange once we were doing the dishes and my mum turned to me and said, I hope you use condoms. And I was like, Mum. And she went, I do. So I think that kind of casual approach to that sort of conversation maybe took root somewhere in my adolescent brain.
So I wanted to know your best and worst moments on stage. Let's start with maybe your best moment.
Because I got a standing ovation once and it was at a charity, which is not common in stand up, right? And it was at a charity fundraiser for after the for Planned Parenthood in America. Here we are in New Zealand doing fundraisers for America. But personally, selfishly, the other moment that competes with it is probably the first time I killed, because you get varying degrees of success on stage, but when you really kill, you can feel it in your guts, right? And I remember walking away from it, and it was after not that long after I first started, and walking away from it, and there was just this thought of, you don't owe that to anyone. That's all yours. You don't have a team that you need to thank. You don't have anyone that was championing you. You wrote the material. You picked the outfit. You got on stage and delivered it. Do you know what I mean? So you just get to claim it all. I think that realization is probably another top moment. My worst bomb was probably in Milford. It was like my first or second professional gig. And it was a 10-minute spot and I just bombed hard. And I know why. You go on, especially as a queer performer, right? You go on and if you're in a room where you feel comfortable and safe, you're very much yourself. I didn't mean to do jazz hands there, but you know what I mean. Whereas you're in a room with like a bunch of kind of conservative, kind of wealthy people, and there's something in you, I think, when you're sort of a little junior performer, a little baby, that diminishes your, you know.
And people can sense it, can't they?
Yes, they can sense you kind of that you're holding. Well, I don't know. They don't know that that's what they're sensing, an audience, but I think they've got a psychology that yeah. So that was probably one of my worst ones. I sat in that was probably quite upsetting.
Well, look, my final question for you is what's your favorite comfort food?
Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah, no question.
Self-made or bought?
Self-made, always, but it's becoming less of a comfort food now that I'm pretty sure I've got IBS. So
right, yeah, and gluten's not good for that, is it? Cheese, thick cheese.
a nightmare scenario. But that said, I say that I'm not going to stop eating it.
No, well, fair enough. Particularly if it brings you comfort, and
well,
and then later some discomfort.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, lasagna, chocolate. Do you know anything kind of homemade and kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? I guess homemade. Do you know what I mean? Like stews, mince and tatties, that sort of rich, anything like that. I'll sit and eat. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Nice to talk to you, and all the best for good breeding.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking to me. It's been lovely. Lovely break from my working day as well. So thank you.